Indeed, it witnessed one of the strongest appreciation that the country has witnessed when it comes to the local currency's performance against the US dollar. Even several reports showed that indeed in Africa, Ghanaian cedi stood out as one of the best performing currencies in the world. We've seen some sustained stability if you track the numbers from January this year until some blips started. Well, the Bank of Ghana has indeed come out to remind the public about some regulations and measures in place to ensure that the Ghana cedi is indeed stable. But indeed, will these measures meet the test of time? And also, how are these measures impacting on businesses when it matters, as in all these enforcement of the foreign exchange liquidity issues, importation, and pricing of local currency will be engaging those who matter in the business space when it comes to the trading activity. That is the president of the Ghana Unitary Association, Joseph Obez, here with me in the studio, and also be engaging the president of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Humphrey Yimdak, and also an economist. And also we'll be hearing bits of an interview that we earlier had with the governor of the Bank of Ghana, as we look at the Bank of Ghana Forex measures and the impact of all of these on businesses in the country. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition as we look at the recent Bank of Ghana notice reminding the public about the foreign exchange measures and also the fact that we are not supposed to price dollars locally. But let's just give our viewers some quick run of these data numbers in terms of where we were with the Ghana cedi. Now look at where we were at the beginning of this year. It came down, and of course see where we are right now in terms of the run for the Ghana cedi. In terms of the US exchange rate, that is US dollar, where we are right now in August, and we've seen some of the banks even quoting 11 Ghana cedis, 30 pesos. Of course, so there's a quick run of the measures by the Bank of Ghana. Look at ban on backed dollar withdrawals by large companies. Reminder that foreign currency pricing is prohibited. Mandatory declaration for transfers above 10,000 Ghana cedis. Of course, travelers with $50,000 and above must declare funds and prove supporting documents. Exchange rates on invoice match commercial rates and BOG rate. And that is something I'll be getting the Guta president's thoughts on that. I mean, in terms of ensuring that whatever rates that we quote, it should be what the Bank of Ghana rate. Also, importers of goods must present bank slips, foreign receipts, valid import declaration forms, and contracts where applicable. Foreign currency cannot be sent via email, cargo. Non-compliance attracts heavy penalties, including seizure of fines of the funds, fines, and possible prosecution. All amended rules take effect from September 1, 2025. Let me quickly come to Doc. I mean, first, how are you doing? How are things going for you in business?
It's okay. It's just that sales is slow. I think we have to look at the liquidity in the system. Yeah.
Is this still a problem?
I think there should be a flow of money so that it can trickle down to the consuming public to also come and buy from us.
Does that mean that can we literally say in the layman's term that government is not spending?
Well, I cannot pinpoint, but definitely I also know that some contractors are not paid and they also owe most of us money. So we have to do everything to allow the monies to flow. And then also now that inflation has come down considerably, then we have to also make the banks a bit liquid for them to also let the money flow to us. Yeah.
Let me quickly bring in Dr. Humphrey Yimdak. He's president of the Association of Ghana Industries. Doc, I mean, let me first ask you, how are you doing, or let me say, industries, how are you guys doing now?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good evening to your viewers and your good selves and my colleague in studio. Yes, our BB report, which is the Business Barometer report, indicates significant confidence in the economy, and that is translated to the reasonable growth that we've seen in the economy end June per the last report. So one will say that the stability trajectory is positive. However, we need to see how this is sustained into the years. And we look forward to the incoming budget from the finance minister to give us further confidence and anticipation for the incoming year. So one would say it sounds positive, and that is a good sign for growth into the incoming years, all things being equal. Thank you.
And Doc, I'll be getting your quick thoughts on the Bank of Ghana measures, as well as my guest in studio here, and also a senior economics lecturer at the University of Ghana, Accounts Department, Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie, who will also be joining us via Zoom. But earlier on, I caught up with the governor of the Bank of Ghana for an interview on these measures, the current performance of the city. I quickly want to bring a portion of that interview to our viewers. And then quickly, I'll come back in studio to get the thoughts from the senior accounts lecturer at the University of Ghana, accounts department, Dr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie, and also the president of GUTA, and also the president of the Association of Ghana Industry. So let's hear from the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson is here. When we spoke to him earlier on issues about the city and what is the Bank of Ghana doing to try and stabilize things. So let's get back to the clips and get the video of the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, who we spoke to him earlier about the development on the currency front and what is the Bank of Ghana doing to thrive and stabilize things. Some will say that, why is it so much talk about the city now? I mean, with respect to what is happening on the market, and what does the Bank of Ghana also make of what is happening right now?
So thank you very much, George, and welcome to our offices. The CD, versus the dollar, as you know, it's been in the news for a while now. Remember how we started with the sharp appreciation up until about 2 months ago when we saw some slowdown. Through that entire phenomenon, we kept saying it, that there wasn't a specific exchange rate that we were targeting. Remember, the exchange rate, as we always say, is an endogenous, variable. It must move. It can move by the minute, it can move by the second, it can move by the day. And that is the framework we have, what we call a flexible, a managed floating system. That is what we maintain. Now, when a currency appreciates sharply, it brings on board other phenomena. And we are beginning to see some of those phenomena at play. For example, immediately imports become a lot cheaper. And so you find that people who wouldn't have been settling their import bills that early, they find it cheaper to do so. And so it's just natural to begin to see pressure build up on the currency just because of the sharp appreciation that occurred. So for us, what you see out there as pressure is just a cash flow, a short-term cash flow problem. The macroeconomic fundamentals are very strong. As at the end of June, you saw all the numbers, growth is strong. The external sector is very much viable. The current account is very strong. You've seen the surplus. You've seen the trade account. The balance of payment is as strong, strongest than ever before. And so in terms of the macroeconomics, nothing has changed. Things are actually looking good. Inflation is on the downward decline, as you know. And so ideally, there shouldn't be pressure on the local currency. Rather, what is happening is just because of the sharp appreciation, we were beginning to have some some cash flow problems. Now, why specifically? Again, because we've seen some decline in terms of remittance inflows. That also I can explain the phenomenon at play. We've had some IMTOs and other remittance companies beginning to pull a fast one, beginning to use other channels right? And so because these were not being directed through the banking industry, as you would imagine, the interbank FX market, will therefore be impacted. And so over the last 2 months, for example, we have seen very limited interbank trading. And so you find that unless the central bank is there, supporting the market, then you would see pressure building up. So it's not surprising. What we are saying is not surprising. It's expected. It's just a short-term cash flow problems that we are seeing. But we are working on it. We are fixing it. We have adequate reserves. Remember, we are under an IMF program, so we are watching those benchmarks very well.
And when you spoke about reserves, I mean, over the past months, some are saying that when you look at your auctions, you were quite heavy on the market. And now we've seen a kind of clawback. Some are saying that, do you have enough dollars to meet market demand? Are you out of dollars, Doc?
So when you talk about market demand, it doesn't have to be the central bank alone. Remember, the banks ought to have their own inflows that accrue through remittances, inflows that accrue through trade. It is true that certain inflows, like from mining, for example, those accrue to us. And so it makes sense that we support the markets using, those inflows that come in. And so one of the things we have done this week is we have written to the mining firms, right, for such inflows to be redirected to the commercial banks. And all these is meant to help, improve interbank trading, in Forex FX. That way they are able to support imports and other flows without necessarily, waiting for the central bank to come in with some support. So it is all expected. It is based on what has happened, the sharp appreciation and the fallouts. Remember, some other people, certain actors also, like you look at the black markets, what we call the black market. Certain things are going on there, but we are having a good look at them. We are taking certain measures. We are taking advantage of the situation to fix the foreign exchange markets. One of the things I can tell you is that we've discovered quite a number of leakages, in the FX markets. Leakages because of technological developments, for example. Suddenly, some people are using crypto channels, for example, to terminate. When that happens, they bypass the interbank, FX market. So certainly, So, but it's our job, to create the platform to be able to regulate those. And so remember, we spoke about bringing on board a framework to regulate, virtual assets, for example. Yeah. That is likely to come on board before the end of the year. And so going forward, we don't expect, people to outwit us, so to say. We are doing several other things. You might have seen a number of notices that we have brought out, quite a number of them.
And before I come to that one, so the assurance I get from you is that you have adequate reserves. The Bank of Ghana has not run out of dollar cash or liquidity to meet the market demand. Because when you engage some actors in the market, the perception that they are pushing out is that BOG has been on the market, they are out of dollars. That is why we are seeing the current pressure. Can I get that assurance from you that you have the adequate reserves, liquidity to support the market when it comes to the Bank of Ghana's bid of contributing to the market?
George, we have adequate reserves. But the fact that we have adequate reserves does not mean we support the market alone. As I've explained, the interbank market is supposed to, take care of itself as well. And so we are fixing the issue on a number of fronts. We are, taking certain steps to ensure that, liquidity in the interbank market improves. For example, deciding to revert, mining flows that accrue through the mining firms back to the interbank market. It's one of the ways of solving the problem. So it's not going to be just the Bank of Ghana supporting the markets continually. It will be getting the interbank FX market to function. And so we only come in when there is some, demand that the market is not able to take care of, and then we come in. So ideally, that is what it ought to be. Like I said, because of the leakages also, that is also why you don't see as much activity on the interbank market. And so we are working on the leakages. The notices we have brought out are timed. They actually meant, to take care of those leakages. So going forward, we are optimistic that trading on the interbank market will improve. Thereby, the delays when it comes to, importers, financing their imports, etc., will be addressed. So this is a short-term, challenge as we see it. But that said, remember that we're under a fund program. And as part of the benchmarks under the fund program, we ought to maintain adequate, international levels of reserves. We are looking at that. Our eyes are on the ball. You get it. So we can assure you that, as far as the program is concerned, we are okay. The benchmarks are okay. This short-term cash flow demands is something that we have to deal with. Now, normally, when there is that type of demand, you'll see it, reflected in the rate. It doesn't mean that anything has gone wrong. If we were to have a fixed exchange rate system, and you see the rate moving, that is when you call it a crisis. But if you have a flexible exchange rate system, the mechanism is for the exchange rate to adjust. And it will adjust anytime, anyway.
Doc, you issued some notices. There are some who think, are worried that are we trying to restrict FX usage, or are we trying to place some restrictions on the market? What do you tell those who see these notices or regulations or guidelines as the Bank of Ghana trying to kill a housefly with a sledgehammer?
George, if you go to every country, go to South Africa, go to Kenya, go to our peer countries, markets are regulated. It's about the extent to which you regulate these. If you find certain practices that are compromising the efficient functioning of the markets, as a regulator, as a central bank, you take care of those, loopholes.
No, the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Pandit Isiama, and that was a portion of the interview that we had with him in his office. We're bringing you the full version later on another program about the governor speaking about the economy, the CD, the outlook for the local currency. But we are back in studio here engaging our distinguished guest, the president of the Ghana Union of Trade Association, president of the Association of Ghana Industries, and also senior economist with the University of Ghana Accounts Department, Dr. Edu Osisakare, joining us via Zoom. President, I mean, you listen to the governor, and that's just a fraction of a full interview that we had with him. I'll be playing that full interview later on. But what do you make of this assurance? In other developed markets, when the Federal Reserve Chair speaks, the markets are calm and everything and all the rest. What do you make of the assurance coming from the governor of the Bank of Ghana with respect to what is happening now and the outlook for the Ghana city?
Yeah, I would say that he inspires a lot of hope, and he is very accessible. This engagement that we had with him, we have been having one-on-one engagement with him, and we know his good intentions and how he is poised to have the economy actually stabilized. And one can say that the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. Actually, if you look at where we are coming from, where the exchange rate was very high, and within a short space of time when he took over, we've attained such a stability and all that. It means that whatever thing he's saying is the truth. There's everything truth about saying that the foreign reserves have shored up, and that we have about 5 months import cover. And so we don't have to be panicked about anything, and that's to allow the Bank of Ghana to bring these prudent measures that they have already brought, and that is showing up. The only problem is the cash flow or our access to the forest itself. There's a missing link somewhere, and that's what we have to find. We have to find a solution to it, so that if we have the forest, as he's saying, we have all this in the adequacy of it, and then we do not have access of same, then it becomes
a problem.
A problem for us, and that's where we have to actually work on. Yeah.
Let me bring in the president of the Ghana Association of Industries, Dr. Humphrey Ayimdake. Doc, I mean, businessman, and I drew the analogy of the Federal Reserve Chair when he speaks and how it calms the market. We've had some liquidity issues over the past 3 weeks. Convinced, assured, or maybe in the local parlance, they will say that agroniform. What do you make of what the governor has said and the assurance that he's given to the market about the outlook of the Ghana city?
Indicated it agroniform. Yes, the assurances are positive. Nonetheless, agroniform, he did indicate some fallout and outcomes of an appreciation of the city, including the cheap imports coming in and the concern about the cash flow, which can be traced to the domestic revenue mobilization. And by virtue of the appreciation of the city, technically, the domestic revenue from the ports to the regulator, GRA, definitely there'll be a shortfall. However, there are gains that one could say. The debt position of the economy also dropped by virtue of this appreciation and other consequential issues. That which we did not hear from him within the assurance is the subject matter of arbitrage. The commercial banks technically also will get a hit by virtue of the appreciation of the city. Their asset base technically will also be affected. So we say the regulator, who's the Bank of Ghana, sees the financial position of each of the banks. And therefore, the cash flow constraint regarding the Forex in circulation is our concern. We know the banks or the commercial banks, by virtue of the appreciation, there'll be arbitraging going on because of the subject matter of Forex trading and the appreciation and the consequential hit on their assets or current assets accounts. So what is the situation in there? I believe that the regulator should be firm on the commercial banks, because members go to the banks seeking to transfer funds. They tell you we go to the Bank of Ghana for auction yeah. And we are not giving sufficient. However, the Bank of Ghana, who's the regulator, sees all the accounts of each of the banks and their various reserves. So what is the subject matter regarding arbitrage, which consequentially could also hit the asset base of the banks? But for that, the assurance are very confident. We were sat in the monetary policy, the recent engagement. We saw the research base, the scientific research base that underpin the trajectory. We are confident because we tested it, and our BB report, our barometer report that we turn out ourselves seem to be in line with what we witnessed at the engagement. So we are confident in that, but the regulator must be tough with the commercial banks to make sure the cash flow situation is resolved. Thank you.
Being tough. I'll be coming back to you to get some of your thoughts on the actual measures that they are trying to remind the public about. But let me bring in an economist, a senior economics lecturer at the University Economics Department, Dr. Edu Osusakode, putting on the spectacle of somebody who lectures in this space and what the governor has said. Does it give you some level of comfort, or just like what the AGI president has said, we want the Bank of Ghana to be a lot more tough on the market?
Well, thank you, and good evening to you and everybody. Guta President, thank you. I want to buy lights from his shop.
Oh, I see.
He gave me a good discount.
Wow. Is it because of the stable CD? Or?
Yeah. He's a good man. Yeah.
No, he was talking about cash flow, so he had a cash flow there. Okay. So back to the issue. I think the Bank of Ghana's mandate of price stability is what is driving the whole exercise. He wants to make sure that prices are stable, both the foreign currency price in terms of exchange rate and also prices of goods in terms of inflation. And so they will do everything to manage the situation. First, from the sharp appreciation point of view, I was a bit uncomfortable because the curve was too steep, right? And one would have thought that the governor or the central bank would limit their intervention and allow the market variables to play out so that the curve will not be that steep. I'm saying this because if you listen to the interview you had with him, he is citing the sharp appreciation as the reason for people now settling their import bills, for which we have this kind of a slight depreciation of the cedi. So the curve was too steep, and that was the reason. And I think going forward, we will learn from this that next time we'll manage the curve so that it will not be too steep. And then he has also brought in some measures, and my colleagues have talked about them. The measures are intended to manage the demand for the dollar and also the supply for the dollar, and also manage the demand and supply of the cedi, because the interplay of these would always determine the exchange rate. The sense I get from the governor, and you asked the question about the comfort I have here is that the central bank is now trying to allow the interbanks to play a lead role in the management of the exchange rate, and that they will step in as and when necessary, or being the lender of last resort. So in this case, my understanding is that they will sit back, allow the banks, I think my friend here who is here from the banking sector is here, allow the banks to do their own thing, and then when there's a need for any swift intervention, then the central bank will come in. I also see the reasons for this being that, first, they don't want to run out of reserves so that they don't jeopardize the program, the IMF program. They want to stay on course. So why would I risk by pumping in money into a system? Why don't I sit back, allow the banks to play key role, take the lead role, and then we will only come in when things are a bit critical. I think it's a very good strategy. Someone may say the measures are tough. These are things that we should have done as a country for a long time now. He cited countries like Kenya, South Africa. I was in South Africa in 2015. I went to my hotel. I wanted to pay in dollars. They said no. Just this June, I was in Abuja in Nigeria. I wanted to pay in dollars. They said no. In fact, even in Nigeria, you can't pay cash. You only do transfer. So I don't think that we should allow these pricing of items to continue in the country. And we should all support the central bank in this exercise. The exercise of stopping pricing of things like school fees, cars, real estate, all these pricing them in dollars will not help. What it means is that when I want to buy a car and price in dollars, I'll have to go and demand for dollars before I can come and buy the car. But if the car is priced in cedis using the prevailing exchange rate, I can always go to my bank and withdraw cedis to come and buy the car. I don't have to go and buy dollars to put more pressure on the cedi. So these pricing of items that the Bank of Ghana wants to control, I think it's
Doc, let me come in here. I mean, in the lecture halls, you taught us about economics being a science. Two quick questions. Managing consumer behavior is very critical here. Even though what the Bank of Ghana is doing is right by enforcing these laws, we have been used to a certain practice. In enforcing these regulations, could we end up hurting ourselves? I mean, the reminder came in last week, it's kicking in September 1. The consumer behavior aspect of a regulatory intervention and the market response. How should this thing be done to ensure that even though we are doing the right thing, we don't end up people calling back into their homes, keeping dollars under their bed, now trying to channel dollars outside the banking system and all the rest? How do we deal with that from the perspective of economics, science, and market intervention?
Yeah, George, you are right. If you don't implement a policy well, you may not even get the desired results. You will get a counter productive results for you. And so we still have to first manage the approach. The approach is always critical. And you made a point, and I also made a point that we have been used to a situation. Now, if you want to change the situation, people may have a pushback, may fight you, in quote unquote, about it. So we have to continue with the sensitization. I think that the September 1 it may be too short a time for sensitization, but maybe they have their own calendar. But we have to intensify. Just this evening, I was speaking to somebody from the Communications Directorate of the BOG, and I told them that they should intensify the public education, as we are doing today on your network. We have to do intensify the education and make the approach less, punitive, so that people can come on board and love to do it. So President Joseph Obin mentioned something that the central bank is accessible. The governor is ready to meet everybody. I believe that the governor himself, or maybe his deputies, should meet those who have been pricing their things in dollars, like schools. We know the schools, so just give them a call for a meeting, meet them one-on-one, meet the real estates, meet the car dealers, meet all those in the hoteliers, meet all those who price their items in dollars, and have a way of convincing them, letting them know the long-term impact of the reversal, to the extent that you can even give them more hope that if they stop pricing of the items in dollars, the cedi will stabilize and they can even get more profit from it. If you're able to paint this scenario to them, I'm sure they would always come on board. So having a buy-in, the psychological support for any policy is very important. The management of consumer sentiment is very important, because the money market is so sensitive that any misinformation or disinformation can trigger certain things. So you are right that we have to, as a country, try to manage all these things. And I think the central bank should have a sit with them, meet them, and tell them they need to do this and the possible benefits that we all will derive from it.
Doug, before I come to my guest and still President of GUTA, I want a quick response for you on this one as well. There's an argument, or there's a school of thought, that the best form of de-dollarizing our economy is firm stability of the Ghana cedi. The cedi is firmly stable. There is no incentive for anybody to price in dollars. What do you say to those who argue that? Hello, Doc, if you can hear me.
It's me?
Yeah, the question is to you, that the argument is that the best form of de-dollarizing our economy is a firm stability of the local currency. There wouldn't be any motivation for a school, a Montessori, a shop to price in dollars. I walked to a shop, and I won't mention the name. They sell an Apple Card. And this Apple Card that is going for $50, $100, they were using a rate of 17 cedis to 1 Ghana cedi. And the argument was that when they finish selling the cards and they have to go and restock, the cedi has depreciated. At that time, the cedi was down as 12 Ghana cedis or so, or even 11. And they were using a rate of 17 Ghana cedis to $1.
Yes, a strong cedi is always necessary. And I think we have to intensify our efforts to making our cedi strong. But the fact still remains that we have been used to these things, pricing of items in dollars. So if you want to stop it, no matter the conversation, the arguments you want to make, there may be a pushback. So we have to just educate them. But the cedi is strong now. So why still people are pricing their school fees, their houses in dollars? The cedi is stronger now, unless they tell us that they don't believe in the stability or the value of the cedi. But if you observe, that's why we always preach stability. I think my friends will also agree with me that stability is better than this sharp appreciation, sharp depreciation.
Stability, yeah.
If the exchange rate stays stable around, say, 13, 12.9, 13.1 for 1 year, 2 years, into 2.5 years, then there will be no need to price in dollars, because you know that whatever happens, the city will be around 13 to $1 for the next 1 year or for the next 2 years. Because I don't have to price so that because the essence of pricing in dollars is to shore them up when there's a possible depreciation of the city. But if they know it stays around a certain level for a long time, there will be no incentive to do that. So I think it works in both ways. What you are doing is weakening the city, and you want a stronger city. So something must be given up first. And I think that, of course, right from the beginning, it is illegal. The only legal tender in the country is the city. So pricing in the city and dollars or any foreign currency is illegal.
Okay.
And so that's why we must start with that, not from the point of view of the economy. We must start with them, because what they are doing is illegal.
Okay. Doc, I'll come back to you. I mean, President Goodhart, there are some who have accused your members that you are the worst culprit in this pricing in foreign currencies and all the rest. What do you tell those who argue that your members might be the worst culprit? Why are they doing that when it's illegal?
Yeah, but it's very obvious that when you go to the marketplaces, even though the duty that we pay, our transactional values are all rated in the dollar and all that, but we still sell in cities. You go to Okanshi, Abusuka, everywhere. But the so-called elitist areas, the hotels, some of these hospitality industries and all that, they are corporates, and maybe sometimes some car dealers and all that. So it is not true that we sell in the, no. In fact, when you come to the market and somebody give you $1 to buy a product, you don't have the need of the dollar, because when you are changing the money, you are transferring the money, you still have to change it into cedis. Before you send it to the bank, from the bank, you cannot send the dollar whole. Even the Forex Bureau operator will even take advantage of you. So people do not actually, but let me tell you, we have a sovereign currency. I don't understand. Most of us who have traveled across the globe do not see this in other countries.
So, I mean, you support this action firmly by the Bank of Ghana, enforcing the cedi as the only legal tender for transactions in the country.
Other foreign currencies, when they come to Ghana, have to be chasing our local currency, the cedi, so that it can get the strength, but not the vice versa, where our sovereign currency chases other currencies from other countries. It does not make sense. And that's why we chase the currency and it fries. And then we all come back and cry. So we don't have to be chasing it. We travel. I went to Tunisia, as he said, he went to South Africa and all that. The hotel, I was holding the dollar as if they don't need dollar at all in that country. And I was there.
Let me share my experience with you in Abuja when I tried to pay at a restaurant with the dollar. The waitress told me that I should walk across the street. There's a Forex bill there. I should go and change it to Naira and come back to the restaurant and pay her the Naira.
And you know what? Because they reject the dollar where you need their currency. When you propose to them that they should change the dollar for you, they take a huge advantage of that and reduce the rate, because at that time you are in need of their local currency. In fact, we don't have to be chasing these currencies when we are in Ghana. It doesn't make sense at all. That's why we are suffering like this. So we have to respect, we have to trust our local currency. Now it's doing well. So this is the time that we have to revolve around it. Now the city is attaining its 60 years. And we are celebrating it. And we have these are some of the lessons or the education that we have to give to the public.
What about the restrictions on the travel, the cap, how much you can carry, the declaration and all the rest? I know some of your members, again, I stand to be educated, have been accused about they often doing this as well. What do you make of that action that the Bank of Ghana has sought to remind the public that if it's more than 10,000, and I had a call today, a friend was asking me that, Okay, so what if I'm carrying $70,000 and I don't want to declare?
The rules
What
are
is
there.
what is gonna? Is it for because they now want to tax us? There are people who are worried. They're looking at the timelines. It is too short. What do you make of these actions? Because there are someone saying that the timelines are too short, and the fear is that government now wants to tax us?
No, they have given a very good clarification here. Because the status quo has been that the allowable limit is 10,000 USD.
Were some of your members going beyond that limit?
Yeah. And they have actually been smuggling the excess. Let me tell you. And now, Bank of Ghana have made it so clear and even easier for us that just declare, because I believe Bank of Ghana want to track the flow in and out, or the flow of the forex in and out of the country. And it will provide them the necessary data for them to even formulate policies and all that. It's very important. And that's, they have also recognized the fact that the small-scale businesses definitely will not require 10,000 to do their travels and all that. So they've given this space. And all that they are requesting us to do is to show the source of this money and then the purpose of same. It's very simple. So you do that and you can carry up to about $49,000 to go outside. It's very clear. So we have to obey this so that they can have the necessary information. And then when it comes to the 50,000, that's why they are bringing in the business, the big business or medium-sized businesses to it as importation. And then they will demand IDF, the import declaration form, and then a proof of your invoice value, invoice and maybe your contract, and those things that have been itemized there. So it's perfect. It provides a clarity of the whole traveling, the allowable forest for traveling and all that. It makes it so clear.
Why are some of your members discouraged or don't want to use the banking system? Because again, and I'm not going to mention, this friend of mine was saying that if I use the card, the charges are too much, and that's why I'll carry about 200,000 on me because and all the rest. You can channel everything through your bank, put the money here, go to China, the bank will use their correspondent bank to pay everything for you. The person was complaining that the charges are too much. What is the driving factor, the motivation for some of your members don't want to go through the banking system for some of these transactions?
Yeah, so it is very true here. And then it depends on the documentary requirement. Sometimes the requirement is so stringent.
From the commercial banks here?
Yeah, from the central bank itself. And that if central bank want the SMEs in particular, the trading sector and all that to trade with the banks, then of course they have to give us simple requirements, maybe our bill of lading and our invoice values and all that. That will be enough for you to show that the goods have actually been procured. But you see, most times they apply the accounting aspect of it that provide your customs declared documents and all that, and where because of the huge duties that people are made to pay, and then what people say the underdeclared documents and all that, then it becomes very difficult for them to even trade. So the onus lies on government to find a simpler way, because at least when it comes to accounting, we have it with the GRA. They come and do the post-clearance audits and all that with this. But if Bank of Ghana want to know the actual flow of the forest and all that, they have to be less stringent with the documentation processes. Otherwise, everybody would.
And that is why some people are moving away from the banking
and then
system. Also,
just imagine that you could have gotten the rate at the bank at a cheaper price, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then you still go to the black market to buy at a higher rate and all that. Look at, if we are all to trade with the bank, look at the queue, and then also the accessibility of this forest, it will be a burden. That's why they established legally the Forest Bureau systems to come and complement the efforts of the banks. So all that we have to do is to streamline the Forex Bureau system and then even fuse it up with the black market. We have to find a way
black market is illegal.
Yeah, we have to let them formalize into the Forex Bureau stream so that they will be legalized, and then whoever operates beyond that then is deemed as a criminal and be prosecuted. If we do that, then we have just two streams: the Forex Bureaus and then the commercial banks who are dealing in the trade of the forest. And it will be very perfect, and government can control the Forex Bureaus because the act that established it is coming from the central bank. It will make it very perfect.
I mean, you spoke about liquidity. I mean, as we speak right now, sir, has the situation gotten better, stabilized a little bit, or is still worse in terms of the access to dollars for your transactions from the commercial banks?
Access to...
Has it gotten bad? Or?
It hasn't improved.
Okay.
Let me put it that way. Okay. Because it started about 2.5 months ago, and it has ever still been the same.
The problem.
And then if you are transferring even 30,000 about 2 weeks before. No, this one, we have never experienced this one before, and governor will have to find a way to deal with this. Whatever it is that we should deal with this. Because even previously, we were doing the same auctioning, like they call it now. The auctioning system having been revised, and we are getting same-day value of our transaction. If we do the transfer, we get the same-day value. Why is it now down? It will take... Because if care is not taken, our credibility, our credit-worthiness in the international space will be tinted. Because it will be tinted because then people will say that, how is it difficult for our clients in Ghana find difficult to transfer monies for us? Then there should be a question mark in the global space. So we have to be careful.
The governor is saying that now the mining firms are now allowed to give their inflows, their dollar inflows to the commercial banks instead of the Bank of Ghana. That could, again, improve liquidity as well. We understand that Akukubo should be getting about some $4 billion before the end of this year in the pre-financing deal. That should also show up liquidity in the system as well. But let me quickly bring in the President of the Association of Ghana, and there's just a minute and we'll go for a commercial break coming back. I mean, Doc Dake, I mean, for you look at these measures, and does it bring you some comfort, or again, you are worried because some have said that the timelines in enforcing this thing is quite short. It was last week was a reminder that it's taken off from September 1, 2025.
Old laws, these rules have not changed. The only factor that has changed has been the appreciation of the cedi and where we are. That is why I took a first comment on the arbitraging that is happening currently. We need to appreciate that position. Where there are market failures, yes, the Bank of Ghana will come in. And as a result of the appreciation, the consequential issues that are coming out, and over the last 2 months, cash flow regarding transfers have been an issue till date. It hasn't improved significantly.
It hasn't improved.
So the BOG should really focus on this subject matter of arbitraging and make sure that the banks are not taking advantage of the set position. The economy has been reset. It's a resetting process. And Dr. Sarkodie mentioned the rate of appreciation was, yes.
Steep.
Yes, it is an economic decision. You should realize that a governor or the current government has a 4-year mandate. If you juxtapose the rate of appreciation vis-a-vis the other impact, which has over the period been a subject matter of job losses, a subject matter of financial constraint, to the extent that we had to go into debt. It's a decision of a government to either go by the theory or take a practical position and seek to correct it, irrespective of the extent of steepness or extent of appreciation that happened. That's a subject matter that can be discussed. So the team chose to go through this route. The consequential issues and market failures have been corrected. The subject matter of the cedi has always been the issue of confidence What has been a confidence in the cedi in the previous era when cedi was 17? One of the functions of a currency is the store of value. So where I can't find my store of value in the currency, I have no option than to look for another alternative. And that has been the trajectory over the past years until now. So in reality, perhaps the governor and the decision makers opted for this decision and brought some confidence. Now the behavior of the consumer behavior is that how long can we sustain this? So I would prefer, instead of going around educating the car dealers, the users of or pricing in dollars, rather to focus on how to bring confidence in the sustainability approach from the governor and the managers of the economy through structural reforms, agribusiness related reforms, productivity that will underpin the gains. So you see, look, it's a decision. And then Doc, who is an economist and a lecturer, should look at it from that perspective that until recently, the debt position of the country was over 70+%. As of June, it's 43+%. So there's a trade-off with domestic revenue. But what is the other consequential issues? Confidence coming back to the cedi, and they seek to deliberately enforce the regulation to grant sustainability into the future. So it is, I mean, it goes against theory that, look, you've gone through a high degree of appreciation and all of a sudden you want the market forces to normalize. These are the fallouts. So it's the work of the economist and that of Bank of Ghana to take a hard approach where there are market failures to bring intervention and gradually correct it.
Let the man respond.
So the subject matter has been the confidence of the economy. That is why everybody moved to price in dollars. So if you are correcting it, preach sustainability as the Bank of Ghana, the governor did, and continuously work towards that sustainability approach with diversification, job creation, and the cycle goes on.
So I get from you that you think that these measures that the Bank of Ghana is trying to reinforce is good, and I see some full compliance from industries and your members.
Absolutely. For us now, as I mentioned, the governor should be stringent and make sure his rules are obeyed through reasonable means within the law. Yes, the correction will come with market failures, and he must intervene to correct it in the long term, because this has been the case over a decade. What they call the depreciation over the years until recently has always been a phenomenon. Distorted what they call economic model, the inflation target model was distorted until now. Market failures were there, banks collapsed. So it's a hard approach, but we must relook at it and argue out that, look, they took this decision with the purpose to correct the failures, and we should support them to correct the failures and move on.
Okay, I'll be going for a short break. When I'm back, I'll get into the thought of Dr. Dosu-Sarkodie, basically on what can the fiscal side also do to complement, because this is not just about the Bank of Ghana issue. Also, there is a fiscal approach. What should government be doing to complement the measures that the Bank of Ghana is rolling out to try and stabilize the Ghana cedi? This is PM Express Business Edition. You look at the Bank of Ghana measures and the impact on business. I'm engaging the president of GUTA, president of AGI, and also a senior economist at the Economics Department, University of Ghana. I'll be getting back, be right back after this break. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition as we look at the Bank of Ghana measures and the impact on businesses out there. As we try and wrap up on the discussion, let me bring in the senior accounts lecturer at the Accounts Department, University of Ghana, Dr. Dosu-Sarkodie. As I get his final thoughts and wrap up, and I come into the studio as well. So Doc, for you, what should be the fiscal contribution as well in terms of trying to complement whatever the Bank of Ghana is doing? Because the bit about quoting, pricing in local currency, there is an executive or a fiscal side to everything that we are talking about here, Doc.
Yes, before I go to that, I think my friend tried to create impression that I only know theory. If you are in a classroom, you know only theory. He is a banker. so he knows practice, and I tend to disagree with him. The theory is always something which has been tried and tested with empirical data. So even if I know only theory, but that's not the truth. I was talking about the sharp appreciation of the exchange rate of the cedi. The sharp. The key word was the sharp. And I think he agrees with me because he doesn't know how to tell me that he agrees with me, because he is the one questioning has the fear of the sustainability. The governor himself has indicated that importers are responding to the sharpness by settling their bills now. If it wasn't about the sharpness, but it was just about a slight appreciation, they would have built more confidence about its sustainability. I have no problem when the cedi appreciates and when it is coming from a natural cause. But this sharpness, there's more to interrogate because it's too steep. The curve is too steep. Fair enough. And this issue about the benefits to the sharp appreciation, you should ask the cocoa farmers. You should ask the Ghana Revenue Authority. They are crying foul about how they are experiencing the negative impact of this sharp appreciation of the currency. By the way, the drop in the debt to GDP ratio is not due to the sharp appreciation of the currency. In dollar terms, it's not. In cedi terms, it is. But in dollar terms, it's not. It's because of the debt exchange rate, the debt exchange program, domestic debt exchange and external debt exchange. It was painful. I mean, Ghanaians endured haircuts, but it has contributed to the drop in the debt to GDP ratio. It's a numerator over the denominator. So the debt exchange program contributed to the reduction in the numerator, and then the GDP growth is also contributing to the increment in the denominator. That is why the debt to GDP ratio has fallen. In dollar terms, it is the same. So this back and forth thing, I don't think is, if he has a point, he should make a point.
Okay.
The fact the fact that people don't have confidence in the cedi does not mean we should allow them to keep pricing items in dollars. Is he telling us that Naira doesn't depreciate? Is he telling us that the South African rand doesn't depreciate? Is he telling me that the Egyptian pound doesn't depreciate? All these currencies depreciate. But why is it that they are able to control the pricing of items in dollars? That should not be entertained. And we should not entertain that in the country. Okay. All right. The cedi is the only legal tender of Ghana. And so we must continue to do that. Except that, these things have been with us for a long time. And so turning things around now is a bit drastic, but I'm sure as a country we can still manage it. And I end on the fiscals. You are right in saying that the fiscals must complement the monetary efforts. And I think for this administration, I have seen a very strong collaboration or coordination between the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. It's something we haven't seen in a long time. And I'm so happy that as a country, we are able to do that. The fiscals, the monetaries are singing the same song. And so these contractors that we have to pay them, price them, the items in dollars, have contracts in dollars, pay them in dollars, must all cease. The Ministry of Finance themselves, when they are awarding contracts, the Ministry of Road, Ministry of Highway, any government agency that is awarding a contract must, if necessary, must award the contract in cedis, so that together as a country, so that the individuals will also see the efforts by the government to curtail the pricing of items in dollars. Oh. So I think, yes, the ministry can also play a complementary role by making sure that the contracts they award, I'm sure some contracts cannot be in cedis, maybe if it's a foreign company, but as much as possible, those that we can afford awarding in cedis, they should award those in cedis. And another side of the exchange rate conversation is the supply of cedis.
In 30 seconds, Doc, because of time challenges. Yeah.
If you look at government expenditure, government of Ghana has cut its expenditure in nominal terms by about 10 billion cedis compared to the 2024 outturn. That is why people are saying that there's shortage, that there's a drop in the supply of cedis. When there's a drop in the supply of cedis, the value will go up. And what is the value? The value is the exchange rate against the other currencies. Let me give you a figure. In the half year of this year, half 2025, the Ministry of Finance budgeted 18 billion cedis for the capital expenditure. They were only able to release or spend 7 out of 18, remaining 11. So 11 billion cedis has not been spent. So that is why people are saying the government is not spending, the government is not spending. And it's true. Their own figures are supporting this claim. We are not talking about corruption. We are talking about real investment expenditure. So going forward, I think the government should identify areas of investment and spend so that it can, fuel the economy for better job creation in the future.
Doc Humphrey Yimdake, sorry for time challenges on our part. In a minute, your final thoughts as we try and wrap up on this discussion, please. Unmute, Doc, in a minute, please, as we try. You have to unmute your Zoom link.
Yeah, I did it. Okay,
in a minute,
Doc,
please, I beg you.
Apologies if I got it wrong with you, but one, I'm not a banker, I'm an industrialist. Two, I was trying to interrogate a consumer behavior pattern, which is as a result of lack of confidence. I'm not encouraging consumer behavior to go in that way, but if the confidence subject is weak, that's what leads the action and the behavior of that pattern. But going forward, I believe that the regulator should be emboldened to do what is right. They pick a choice of appreciation of the city, and there are fallouts and trade-offs. We should aid them and support them to correct the trade-offs, which we all know, which are the negatives, including the, the cash flow and then the transfers that are happening within the banks. I've mentioned strongly the arbitraging that is going on. The regulator should look at that and will support him to get it right and bring the country back. The economic model they've chosen has consequences, but the aggregate impact on the larger economy is positive. And therefore, we believe that let's correct the market failures to perfect this. Thank you.
President Guta, your final thought, but I also want to get from you quickly in some few seconds about the revised GIPC Act, that we also got the understanding that when it comes to the trading sector, it is still the minimum $1 million. I saw that in the revised bill. What do you make of that one?
Of course, trading is a no-go area, and we are not going to allow anybody to temper with those laws. In fact, we are even insisting that the minimal capital requirement of $1 million go up to $2 million. And then these Chinese and the other foreigners who have been given this opportunity to do trading should bring their correspondent fund for import. Whatever amount that they use to import should come to manifest in our banks. Other than bringing goods and then fall on our forex.
Doc, 30 seconds, final thoughts on the Bank of Ghana issues.
Yeah, so the Bank of Ghana is on track, and we have to support him. Everything that he's doing is very good for us. I believe in these directives. He's going to help us, especially the informal sector, the small scale traders who can actually declare their forex beyond 10,000. Go to Dubai, go to China, and buy there. They shouldn't be afraid to do this. They should do this, and then the officialdom at the ports and all that should not also take advantage to intimidate them that when you declare something will happen to you and all that. These are the things that we have to do so that at least people can comply to some of these laws.
Indeed, Dr. Dosu Sakodi, he's a senior economics lecturer at the University of Ghana in Mainstance. Dr. Humphrey Yimdake is the president of Association of Ghana Industries, join us via Zoom, and also they are connected via Zoom, and also the president of Ghana Association of Industries. I know that the debate will go on in your homes and your offices, but what more can be? And Dr. Humphrey Yimdake, your friend here says hi to you. Okay, so that's all. We draw the curtain down on PM Expert Business Edition, and I know we'll be looking forward to see how these measures will take off, impact the market, impact businesses, and what more can government do in terms of the fiscal contribution to try and firmly stabilize Ghana City. My name is George Wiafe. Have a great day.